Hey everybody, welcome back to Hannah Clark's Writing Gems. For those of you who are just joining us, I am Hannah Clark, and I'm the author of the young adult fantasy adventure that is about to be released in May called Uncovering Kabogoth. Now today I wanted to talk to you guys about self-publishing. If you've been following my writing gems to this point, that you know that I first self-published before I got picked up by Cedar Fort, and Kabogoth, the Uncovering Kabogoth, as it is now known, and heavily revised, was first released, self-published as Kabogoth, book 1 in the Kabogoth series, and we had a great experience with it. It was really educational. The biggest thing that I took from it was I gained so much of a better insight into the industry by doing self-publishing. And the really great thing that I didn't realize when I self-published was that it's a great way to get the attention of publishers, like professional publishers. So if you're having a hard time getting in through agents or getting, into publishers yourself, maybe it's a good idea to self-publish, get a great following behind you, and then submit to agents or submit to publishers and whatnot, and see where that goes. When I first self-published, I thought that I was kind of setting my path for my career as a writer, that I would always be a self-published author, but turns out that that's not the case, and that now that the self-publishing movement has become so much more popular and there are a lot of really great authors coming out as indie authors, publishers are starting to take us seriously. So that's a really great thing, and that is of course what I found with my own experience finding Cedar Fort, having them take on Kabogoth, is that they took me more seriously because I'd built a foundation of qualifications, or what are they called? A resume of credentials. There you go. And that really, I think, helped open the door for me. So self-publishing, though, let's start there. When I first decided to self-publish, the first thing that I did was educate myself. Like, educate, and I cannot stress that enough, because you don't have the gatekeepers looking out for you, like an agent or an editor at a publishing house. Because you don't have them looking out for you, you need to educate yourself, because there are so many ways that you can be taken advantage of. Now, I read 3 books, especially that I found especially helpful, that I'm going to recommend to you, and I also did just tons of research online. I went and read blogs of people who had done self-publishing, just educated myself as much as I possibly could before I even took the first step in self-publishing. So the 3 books that I read, and I read them kind of I educated myself in layers, and I would recommend doing this because it can be super overwhelming once you get started. But these 3 books that I chose to share with you today introduce it in a kind of a layered effect. So you get, the first one is just a really basic introduction that's really clear and easy to understand. The next one goes a little bit more in depth, and then the final one is like the encyclopedia of self-publishing, where most self-publishers, if they have questions, they'll go to this book. So the first one is called Smart Self-Publishing, Becoming an Indie Author by Zoe Winters. And I have looked all over online. I haven't been able to find it. I don't know if she took it down or whatnot, but if you can find it, it's fantastic. It's a great introduction and really good way to get your whet your palate, I guess. The next one that I got read was the Indie Author Guide, Self-Publishing Strategies Anyone Can Use, by April L. Hamilton, and I wish I had a copy of that book here. I own it, I just don't know where it is. Somebody borrowed it and I never got it back, so I might be buying another one. But, and then the final one is this book right here. This is the Self-Publishing Bible, and it is called The Complete Guide to Self-Publishing, and it really is complete. Everything you need to know to write, publish, promote, and sell your own book. And it's by Marilyn Ross and Sue Collier. This is the one, in all the research that I did online, this is the one that most people recommended as kind of like the go-to for any kind of questions that you have self-publishing. And you can see it's it's a beast. So I highly recommend all 3 of these. But this one is, I haven't read it cover to cover because it's just kind of, you can, but it's more as a reference guide. So I've used it to answer tons of questions because it's really, really intense detail-wise. So those are 3 books to kind of get you going, get you started. After I had educated myself as much as possible, I put my manuscripts through an intense editing session, 3 of them. Actually 4 of them. I did a content edit, like a really basic content edit, and what a content edit, if you don't know, is it just looks at like story plot and structure and characters and, you know, just the big things in your story. And then after that I did a more intense content edit where it was both the big things in the story as well as the big writing things, like actual writing things. And then from there I did a copy edit, or I'm sorry, not a copy edit, a line edit, which is really just mainly focusing on the writing. Once you get all of the story glitches out, then you want to focus more on the writing. And then I did a copy edit, and the copy edit is mainly focused on grammar and that kind of stuff. So I cannot stress editing enough. It doesn't matter if you're self-publishing or if you're submitting to agents and publishers. Editing is just so important. I've mentioned before, I'm dyslexic, so for me it's like really important because doesn't matter that I am an English major and that I taught as a tutor editing for my last 2 years of college. Doesn't matter. I still miss things, and anybody who is a writer will tell you the same thing. Like that you just can't possibly catch it all, especially when you're that close to a manuscript. So hiring an editor is always worthwhile, but make sure they're a good editor because there's lots that aren't very good. So do your research there as well. But editing is so important because nothing says amateur like bad grammar and bad editing in a manuscript. So, and if you're gonna put forth the effort, time, and energy to get your book to do it self-published, you want to have a really respectable product when you're finished. So I can't stress that enough. Edit. So while it was being edited, though, I needed to choose a printer. And this is really important because there are a lot of vanity presses out there. And what a vanity press is you have to pay a whole ton of money to get your book out there or not even out there, to just get it printed, and then that's it. And that's not the way that it should be, especially with the technology that we have now. They have something called print on demand, and print on demand is so great for indie authors because you don't have to buy a huge number of books like at the very beginning and then have to sell them all. How it works is print on demand, they only print as they receive orders, so they will only print as many as are being bought, and that cuts down on costs for you big time because, well, you don't really have to pay anything because there's no book there until someone orders it, and then that's what pays for the printing. So watch out for vanity presses. The printer that I went through is I went through Amazon's service. They're called CreateSpace, and I had a really good experience with them. And I've talked to actually read about lots of other indie authors who have had really great experience with them as well. The reason why I liked them so much is, one, their customer service was fantastic. The best of any that I researched. They were really available all the time, and they were really fast in fixing problems that I had, and really helpful in solving those problems. They were really nice, which is such a big deal when you're dealing with someone so closely. And the other really great thing was, if you're just uploading your file, your print file, it's completely free to use their service. They don't charge you. Where the charging comes is if you use them to do the formatting and all that kind of stuff. But to just upload it to their print on demand service, it's free. So that's awesome. After that, I had to choose someone to do my cover and my interior formatting. So thankfully, my sister Becca, who's my current illustrator as well, she got taken on to Cedar Fort with me, which was so awesome. She was in the last semester of her program, her graphic design program, and so a lot of the things that I needed done kind of coincided with the projects that she needed to do for her final work in her program. So she used my book as her kind of grand final thing. And so I not only got to work with my sister, which we've wanted to do that our whole lives, but also she did a lot more on it than she probably would have done otherwise, for the amount that I paid her to do it. And she loves me, so that was awesome. But she designed the cover, and which I love and I think is so beautiful, and she did illustrations, interior illustrations, which will be in the new version as well. Like this lovely one right here. But she also did all of these little elements throughout the book. She even designed a whole font for me. Now that would be really expensive to hire somebody to do that, but it's totally possible. It's up to you, and depends on how much you want to spend on getting your book published and formatted like that. But those are things that you want to think about. Do you want elements in your book to make it look prettier or nicer or whatever? But you will need to hire somebody to put it into the, oh darn it, Gobi file? I'm not sure. In your research, and especially in these books, they talk about how to do an ebook. And that's something that you could probably figure it out on yourself. I didn't have to. My sister, because she was already in the program, she did the formatting for me. So that was awesome. But even CreateSpace, they offer that service, and I think it's only like, if not $150, maybe $200 for them to do that for you. They don't do the design, like design elements. You have to pay extra for that kind of stuff, but for the actual, just the formatting, that's how much they would charge you. So after that was all chosen and done and in the works, I had my printer, I had my manuscript edited, I was getting it formatted with the illustrations and the cover, and then the final thing you have to think about is marketing. How are you going to market this book now that it's done? Marketing is probably my least favorite thing in the entire world to do. Like I said earlier, or maybe I didn't, I hate sales. I hate it, hate it, hate it, and I always have. It just makes me so uncomfortable. So I don't want to sell something to somebody if I don't know 100% that they want it already, but that's something you have to get over as an author, especially because you have to do so much of your own marketing. Whether you're with a professional publisher or not, you're still largely responsible for your marketing. So there's so many ways to market. With the internet, it's so much easier. What I would recommend is getting a really strong online platform, which means make sure you're really there with a good following as much as you can, to offer you opportunities to communicate about your book, and make people aware of your book. Twitter is great, Facebook is great. I have a Pinterest account, I have an Instagram account these are just for my book. I have a YouTube channel for my writing gems. That's another way of making people aware of my book. Gosh, there's so many ways to do it, and you just have to get really creative, and then just go out and follow other people and try and get them to follow you back, because that's how they're gonna get interested in your product, hopefully. So that's a really big deal. There's lots of ideas, and especially in these books, there's lots of ideas of how to market your stuff. So that's another thing that you want to consider, is how are you going to get people to buy it now that it's a completed product. So yeah, that is really the basics of self-publishing. And for me, it was a great experience. Really hard. I won't lie to you, it's a lot of work to self-publish, but I learned so much, and it really prepared me as I was picked up by a professional publisher to really understand what goes on behind the scenes, what should I expect, and what's not okay, and what's not acceptable. So that was a really great thing for me, because I went into self-publishing. I had no experience beforehand and no education on the publishing industry, but to be able to go and kind of figure it out myself was really helpful for when I was picked up by Cedar Fort, and then, and I think that they might even appreciate all that I know now too, because it takes a lot off of their plate. Like I'm pretty got my marketing pretty well in hand as far as online presence and that kind of thing. So it's not like they have to kind of coddle me along. So I think if you do want to eventually have a professional publisher, they're really going to appreciate how motivated you are as a self-marketer. So that's something to think about in the future as well. So that is that. If you have any questions about self-publishing, because I'm sure I've left out a million things that I just can't think about now, because it's been a little while since I've actually gone through the self-publishing nitty-gritties. But feel free to ask in comments below, and I will answer the ones that I know the answers to. So anyway, thanks for stopping by. Good luck with your endeavors. If this is what you choose to do, it's a very viable, legitimate way of getting your stuff out there and building a career. So don't be afraid of it. I know it has had in the past a negative connotation, but over the last 5 years it's really become a lot more legitimate. So it's definitely worth taking a look at, especially if you want control. That's the thing. That was the biggest thing for me, is being able to have control over the whole process and all the decisions. Like with my new publisher, we actually had a lot of freedom. They were really, really nice to us to let us have input on the cover and to include Becca's designs, or her, a lot of her elements that she designed. They were really great about considering those to put in the final product, or the new product, because we'd already made a beautiful book on our own. So, but in self-publishing you have control over all of that, and it just depends on, do you really want all that control or not? So it's up to you. But that was really fun. It was a really fun part about it, to create a product from the very beginning all the way to the finished product. So that was cool. So I'm done talking. This is a really long video, but I hope it's helpful. And again, if you have any questions about self-publishing, just put a comment down below and I will answer what I can. Thanks for stopping by. Good luck, and we will see you guys next time.